If you told me just 5 years ago that the new Hyundai Santa Fe in 2025 is going to look like this, I wouldn't believe you, honestly. And the main reason is that there's nothing in common between this newest generation of the Santa Fe and the previous generation. Just look at it. It looks so boxy, just like every new SUV on the market. And I've been driving this all week, so I think it's time for us to discuss whether the new 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid is worth the starting price of $45,000 Canadian or the $40,000 price in the United States. Let's find out. And let's start with the practicality. This thing became very, very practical compared to the previous generation. Just look at the cargo space we got in the trunk. If I stand nearby the car with my keys in my pocket, it's going to open the tailgate on its own. As you can see, with the third row up, it's not a lot of space in here, but still it's pretty decent for this size of car. And before we discuss how much space you got here when you put the third row down, let's actually see if I can fit in the third row. Here's the button you can use to move the seat away from you, so you can jump straight to these seats. And it's not like I have lots of room. Again, I'm 5'8", not very tall person. I think it's doable for maybe small kids or very small adults. Let's actually put this third row down by pulling these strings. It's pretty easy. You got a pretty flat floor and you got lots of space here. Let me move this sideways so you can see how much space you got here. The cool thing about the practicality of the third row as well is that you got separate climate vents. You have USB-C on both sides as well. And you can even control your AC in here, which is so cool. And you got 4 cup holders as well. Very, very practical for the third row seating in this car. And by the way, this trim is the lowest trim in Canada's lineup. In the US, the hybrid is not the cheapest option, but in Canada, we get hybrid and all-wheel drive standard in the lowest trim. But be aware that this trim comes with a trend package with some of the goodies I'm going to discuss later as well. One of the goodies are those black leatherette seats. They breathe well and they're very comfortable. So let's jump into the back seat, the second row. As you can see, I got lots of room, and I can also move my seat back and forth to gain even more practicality and room. And I can also tilt my back so I can lie down like this. It's pretty comfy back here. You got good amenities here as well. The separate vent on both sides, on the right and the left side. You got a couple of cup holders as well. And you even got a third one down below. You got those great pockets, airplane style. And one of the great things about this cabin is this neat center console, which you can open from the back by pulling this thing. And the other great thing is that you got even more space by pulling this part, and you got some hidden compartment over here. And one of the great features I like as well is this remote button to put the seats down. As you can see, you don't even need to go there and do it yourself. You got lots of space. And the floor again is pretty flat, even though there's quite a bit of opening right here, which is not ideal, but still very, very practical for this kind of SUV. And I forgot to mention, there's 2 additional USB-Cs as well for your convenience of your second row passengers. And now it's time to discuss probably the most interesting part of the interior review, and this is the driver's seat. Let's jump right in and turn the car on. So as you can notice right away, this interior is very, very clean. And it's also very, very usable because you got so many physical buttons for controlling all of the functions in your car. For example, you can open up the tailgate. You got a volume knob, which is pretty surprising in this day and age. You got your AC controls, which I like for the most part, but I would still prefer physical controls for your AC. But they went with this touch panel over here, but still they give you lots of physical controls, which I like. Your vents are physically controlled. You got your camera button up here. You got your driving mode between Eco, My Drive, and Sport. My Drive is the one that you can customize yourself if you want. You got great physical buttons on the steering wheel as well, and I like the design of the steering wheel. Again, you got this generic screen which you see in every single new car nowadays, but I like this infotainment screen. It's 12.3-inch display, which is very, very responsive to your touch. Of course, it's got Apple CarPlay and it's wireless, and you also got these buttons that you can use within the infotainment screen as well. So for example, home takes you back to the home page. I also configured this start button to be the Apple CarPlay, which takes me back to Apple CarPlay right away. And what I like the most about this button layout is that, let's say you are in Spotify, listening to your music, and you want to go to the map, you don't need to touch the Google Maps icon right here. You can just tap this button, which says map, and you're straight in Google Maps. And it works the same way if you are in the home page, and then you tap the map button again, it will take you to the CarPlay right away. One of the best features of this interior is this panel for your phone. In this lower trim, only the left side is the wireless charger as well. Decently sized center console, which I showed you as well. I keep my sunglasses here. This thing is removable, so you got even more space right here. It's very, very deep actually. And the driving position is very comfortable. Of course, it's high because it's an SUV. And I almost forgot to tell you about this interesting shift knob situation right here, which is mounted on your steering wheel. So if you twist this knob up hard, you'll go into drive. If you put it down, you go into reverse. And then if you press this button with the P, you go into park mode. And one of the neat features I like in this car as well, let's say you are in drive, you just parked in the parking spot you wanted. You just turn off your car and it goes into the parking mode right away. But let's discuss some of the disadvantages of this car. First of all, there's no sunglasses holder, which is a deal breaker for me actually, because I always bring my sunglasses with me. And one of the other things that I don't really enjoy about this car is that if I, let's say, walk away, I walked away from the car, it doesn't close on its own, even though I have a key in my pocket. And by the way, the neat thing about this key is that it has a Hyundai badge on it, which I didn't notice right away, to be honest. It's a very, very light and cheap plastic, so I kind of hope it would feel just a little bit more premium, but that's okay. And one of the other things that I didn't enjoy really much about this car is that for some reason, you cannot move the front passenger seat up or down. You can only move it front and back until the back of the seat, but you cannot move it upwards or downwards, which is a bummer, to be honest. The seats as well are very comfortable. They are the same as you have in the back as well, all leatherette. The driver's seat is powered because of the Trend package, and it's powered 8 ways. Opinions on the exterior are always subjective, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think this car looks amazing from the front. It has some character, and again, it looks like a Land Rover Defender, so it looks good. The side profile of this car is also pretty nice. It looks muscular. It looks like a very capable SUV, which can go off-road. This car has also all-wheel drive. It has a off-road mode as well. But let's be honest, who's gonna off-road this car? It's probably gonna end up in some Costco parking lot and whole kids from school. So here we are at the part that I don't like the most about this car. I think it looks overweight because of this line right here. It's kind of tilting outwards, and it creates a notion that it's kind of fat. And I think the taillights also add to this fact because they are pretty down low for an SUV. Usually SUVs have their taillights somewhere right here or at the lowest right here, but not underneath the Santa Fe badge. They went with something bold, something unique. I wish it grew on me while I was driving it this whole week, but it didn't. But again, this is purely subjective. So if you think this rear end looks awesome, just please let me know in the comments below. Let's go and drive this car. And let's first discuss the backup camera, which is very, very high res. And I'm always surprised how Hyundai is so good with their tech. It's on keen with the Mercedes, BMW, and other luxury brands, which is pretty cool. The first thing I noticed driving this car, especially at low speeds, is that it's very, very quiet. So in this generation of the Santa Fe, Hyundai spent a lot of efforts and investment to reduce the NVH. And for those of you who don't know, NVH stands for noise, vibration, and harshness. And you can notice pretty much at every speed in this car that the NVH levels are very low, even though this car is considered to be an entry-level 3-row SUV. The other interesting feature about the hybrid model of the Santa Fe is that it is paired with the 6-speed wet clutch transmission. It's not a CVT, usually which you see in other hybrid models from Toyota, Honda, and etc. So whenever you accelerate harshly, you actually go through the actual gears, which is pretty rare in this day and age, where most other manufacturers prefer the CVT transmission. So this car has the auto hold function right here, which is pretty neat, especially in the city. So whenever you come to a full stop, it will hold the brakes for you. So you can just rest your foot off the brake while you're waiting for the light to turn green. The steering is very light, but at the same time precise. It's not a very sporty car, as you can tell. It's a family hauler or a cargo hauler. And it does the job well in the city by making parking very easy with this very light steering. But I was surprised by the handling abilities of this car as well, because it has the multi-link suspension in the rear, which makes it much more maneuverable during the turn. The other upside of the driving experience in the city is great visibility. This car, as you can see, is very boxy, so it has those huge windows on all sides. So it is very easy to see out of this car pretty much at every moment, and it makes you much more confident behind the wheel. The internal combustion engine is the 1.6 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and in total they produce about 231 horsepower and 272 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty healthy, especially around town. You don't need to actually go very deep into the pedal to get the amount of torque you need for your daily driving within the city. I think if you want more sporty feel, you would need to go to the 2.5 liter turbocharged engine in the higher trims. But you will lose a lot on the fuel economy because those trims are not hybrid. This car is supposed to get 6.8 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 6.9 on the highway. I think it's around 34 mpg in the city and 35 mpg on the highway in the US metrics. And let's actually check how much I got throughout this week. So last time, since last reset, I got 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers, which is expected. So this car gets the advertised MPG or fuel economy, which is quite nice. But keep in mind that this car is probably made for casual drivers, not for drivers that are trying to be sporty or looking for something more performance-like. I think it's for people who have families and sometimes they need to carry more than 5 people or lots of cargo. This is going to be an ideal city daily driver. But still, you need to understand your priorities because this car has lots of great tech around you. It has lots of futuristic elements both on the outside and the inside. So let's jump into the sport mode and discuss the performance to get you onto the highway. You even got paddles to shift your own gears if you wanted. Lots of body roll in this corner. It will get the job done. It's not the fastest car on the road, of course. It's a 3-row SUV, and I think it does 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. But honestly, who needs more power from this kind of vehicle? I think if you have a family, you're trying to be more responsible probably, so I think 8 seconds is more than enough for this occasion. Let's go back into the eco mode and just cruise. And I think this is one of the strongest part of this car, is highway cruising. And the main reason is the tech with the adaptive cruise control. Let me demonstrate. So we have enabled the cruise control. You push these buttons to increase or decrease the speed, to adjust the distance between you and the car in front of you. And you can also enable the steering assist, which makes this car pretty much self-driving. So as you can see now, I'm barely touching the steering wheel and it does everything on its own. It's stopping for me, it's keeping me in my lane. It basically makes the highway driving seamless. It's on par with the best in the industry, and I cannot recommend it enough. It will even engage in these stop and go situations as well, so you can just sit back, relax, and of course pay attention to what's happening. It's not the fastest car in the world, as I told you, but you're not gonna have trouble merging to the highway or changing lanes and overtaking people. Don't get me wrong, cars are expensive. This car starts at around $45,000 Canadian. It's still cheaper than most of its competition. It has so much value for the money if you think about it. And again, remember, this is the lowest trim, at least here in Canada. The interesting thing I noticed as well when you're driving this car is that when you are in eco mode, you can use the paddles right here to control the regen braking. So it shows right here level 1, level 2, level 3. So when I will take off the foot from the gas pedal, it will reduce the speed significantly to use this regen to slow me down. But if I go to sport mode, it will actually show me the tachometer instead in the right side of the gauge cluster, and it will actually let me change the gears. As you can see, I'm in third gear right now. So these pedals have dual personality. On one hand, they can change the regen braking level, and on the other hand, it can control the gears in sport mode, because this car, as I told you, has a wet clutch, 6-speed automatic transmission. And it's cool that you can both control your gears and at the same time control the regen. But you have to know which mode you're in to utilize both of these features. And it's also cool that they show you the level of the charge of your battery. So whenever you are using regen a lot, you can see how fast the battery charges on its own. So it's a pretty fun game to play, to be honest. So we're gonna explore some scenic or sporty driving in this 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe Hybrid, which is not what it was built for, but we're still gonna explore it just for fun. Of course, it's a 3-row SUV, so it drives like an SUV. If you go into the corner a little bit too fast, you'll have lots of body roll and you'll feel very unstable in the car, and it'll just feel a little scary. But if you are driving around the city and you're driving slowly and very smoothly, there's nothing wrong about this car. It only starts to become sketchy when you try to push this car beyond its limits. Even though it's not a body and frame, it's a unibody structure, it's still an SUV, so it's gonna handle like one. So yeah, lots of body roll when you go into the corner. I mean, it's an SUV, so what did you expect? But honestly though, nobody's gonna drive a car like this in this manner. Most people are gonna drive it in eco mode like this, slowly approaching the corner to minimize body roll, and I think this is how this car should be enjoyed, to be honest. So if you are a buyer who is looking for a great hybrid SUV that can fit up to 7 people, this is a great deal, I think, for the money. The Highlander costs a bit more, I believe at least 8,000 Canadian dollars more. So this makes it a very good bargain. The CX-90 also starts at around 49,000 Canadian, so it's a bit more expensive, and it's a mild hybrid as opposed to this being a full hybrid. Overall, this car doesn't come without its downsides. I mentioned all of the things I don't like about this car throughout the video, but one of the main highlights is that there's no sunglasses holder. The back end looks kinda for me, and it's not very sporty if you're looking for something more performance oriented. It's a cruiser on the highway that is gonna be a great daily driver in the city as well, a great people hauler, a great way to transport your cargo if you wanted to. So this sums up my review. I think, again, if you're a young family who need a little bit more space than 5 seats in their car, maybe occasionally, it's a great buy. So thank you so much for watching, guys. This is my first new car review on my channel. I hope I did well. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay safe out there. Keep enjoying the drive. And I'll see you in the next one.